Let's be honest, the world of AI can feel super complex, right? It seems like there's a new buzzword thrown at us every single week. But what if I told you we could make it all just click using a simple story? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do.
So go on, grab that coffee. We're about to take a little trip together to a place called Intelligencia. And I promise, by the time we leave this village, you'll have a map in your head that makes the whole AI landscape finally make sense.
Okay, so imagine this village, right? For as long as anyone can remember, their one big goal was to create workers who could think and solve problems just like we do. And this whole quest took them down three really important paths, with each one built right on top of the last. Now, the very first workers they created in Intelligencia were pretty simple. Think of them as robots just carrying around a giant rulebook. Their whole existence was just following if-then commands. If a person says billing, then you say press 1. This, my friends, is artificial intelligence in its absolute broadest sense. It's not really thinking, it's just following a very long, pre-written script. But then, everything changed. A huge revolution hit the village. Instead of trying to write a rule for every single possibility, the villagers had a breakthrough idea. What if they just showed the machines thousands and thousands of examples and let them figure out the patterns for themselves? And boom, that's machine learning. It's a total shift from following instructions to actually learning from experience. So you can kind of see how these concepts fit together like Russian nesting dolls. Machine learning is a type of AI, but not all AI is machine learning. And then you have deep learning, which is an even more advanced, more powerful kind of machine learning. These are the village's undisputed master craftsmen, the ones they call on for the really tricky stuff, like understanding your face to unlock your phone. All right, so digging into that machine learning world a little deeper, the villagers came up with three main ways to teach their new workers. You can think of them as different schools, each with its own teaching philosophy for how an apprentice should learn a skill. And here are the big three. First, you've got supervised learning. This is like studying with flashcards. You give the AI a question, and you give it the correct answer. You do that thousands of times until it learns. Then there's unsupervised learning. Here, you just dump a mountain of data in front of the AI and say, go figure it out. Find the hidden patterns. It's like a detective with no clues, just a giant crime scene. And finally, reinforcement learning. This is pure trial and error. The AI tries something, and if it's a good move, it gets a reward. Bad move, it gets a penalty. It basically learns like a gamer trying to level up. So, as the village of Intelligencia got more and more sophisticated, a fascinating thing happened. It basically split into two huge, powerful kingdoms, each with a totally different way of thinking. And understanding this split is seriously one of the most important things to get about AI today. Okay, so on one side, you have the kingdom of judges. Their entire job is to look at the world and make a decision, to classify things. Is this picture a cat or a dog? Is this email spam or not? Is that your face? They recognize what already exists. But on the other side, you have the kingdom of creators. They don't analyze reality. They make new stuff. They generate things that have never existed before. And this right here is the absolute simplest way to remember the difference. The judges, or discriminative AI, answer the question, is this a cat or a dog? The creators, or generative AI, answer the request, draw me something brand new, like a cat-dragon hybrid. One analyzes, the other synthesizes. It's that simple. Now, let's take a walk into that incredible kingdom of the creators and meet the stars of the show, the large language models, or LLMs. You know them better as the magic behind things like ChatGPT. You know, it's wild. When you peel back all the layers of these incredibly complex models, what they're doing is actually surprisingly simple. They are just predicting the next word in a sentence. That's it. After being trained on a mind-boggling amount of text from the internet, they've become the world's best fortune tellers, just calculating the odds of which word should come next. So why do we call them large language models? Well, they're not kidding about the large part. The GPT-3 model, for example, has 175 billion parameters. You can think of a parameter as a tiny little knob or connection that the AI can tweak to make its predictions better. The sheer number of them is just staggering. Now, one of the most important parts of these models is something called the context window. It's basically their short-term memory. How much of the conversation can it remember at once? The early models could only remember a few thousand words, maybe a few pages. But look at this. The newer ones can hold an entire novel's worth of text in their working memory. This is a huge reason why they've gotten so much better at carrying on long, coherent conversations. So what was the giant leap that made these models so incredibly powerful? It wasn't just about making them bigger. Back in 2017, a revolutionary new idea called the transformer architecture came along and changed the entire game. This is the secret sauce. So before transformers, the old AI models had to read a sentence one word at a time, in sequence. And the big problem was, by the time they got to the end of a really long sentence, they'd often forget what the beginning was about. The new way, the transformer way, lets the AI see all the words in the sentence at the exact same time. It can process them all in parallel and instantly understand how every word relates to every other word. Let's look at this sentence right here. An old AI would read this, get to the word it, and it'd be completely lost. Which thing was running late? The truck? The bus? The context was just too far away in the sentence for it to remember and connect the dots. And this right here is the magic. This is the superpower of the transformer. It uses a mechanism called self-attention to weigh the importance of every single word against every other word in the sentence, all at once. It calculates these attention scores and sees clear as day that it has an 85% connection to truck and only a 10% connection to bus. It doesn't just read the words, it understands the deep relationships between them. Game changer.
Okay, so now that we understand just how powerful the residents of Intelligencia have become, it's time to join them for their most important meeting yet, the Ethics Council. Because with this kind of incredible power comes some really, really big responsibilities.
These are the massive challenges they're wrestling with. Let's just take the biased mirror problem. Imagine you train an AI to screen resumes, and you feed it 20 years of hiring data from a company that historically mostly hired men for engineering roles. Well, what's the AI going to learn? It's going to learn to be biased against women. It's not evil, it's just a perfect mirror reflecting our own flawed human data back at us, and that has serious consequences. So we journeyed all the way through the village of Intelligencia. We went from simple rule-following robots to complex, world-building creators. We've seen how they learn, how they think, and even the secret sauce that makes them so smart. But our story has to end here, with the toughest questions of all, like this one. And as these systems weave themselves deeper and deeper into our lives, figuring out the answers to questions like this, well, it's not just a thought experiment anymore. It's one of the most important jobs we have.